accompaniment today. So thank you very much for coming, and I'll turn it over to you.
The Hubbardsson is what he is. We call him. There's an old term for women who are married to male rabbis called Rebbitzin. So we call him the Hubbardsson. So my friends, because we are starting about 20 minutes late, the first part of this program is going to go at warp speed here. And I apologize for that, but I'm not under my control. I'll do what I can still to be clear, because what I wanted to do was to give you a sense of the setting for what we are going to be singing. Also, we are going to have children in here later on, which for me is the greatest and most amazing and exciting thing imaginable, because when I was working with a congregation rather than a small group of a fellowship group, I was known as the children's rabbi because I always had them up here singing everything with me. And they sang every particular song that I'm singing with you was sung by the children of our community at one point because it just made sense for them to be up here with me rather than sitting in the pews. So having the children together with us should be a lot of fun, but that will also be a little bit of a moment where, children are going to be rushing in. We're going to have a bit of a bump. That's fine. Let's welcome them when they come. So, all right, you can see that the title of this part of the session has to do with a call to action. I want to dedicate this session to the following individuals: Christian Angelo, Mason Schemmerhorn, Richard Aspinwall, and Christina Iremi. And these are the four individuals, 2 students, 2 young children, and 2 teachers who died in the shooting at Georgia in the high school there. Because if we do not walk out of our prayer intent on remaking the world, then what we have engaged in is a narcissistic time only for the sake of our own souls and the sake of our own peace. And I am afraid that the world needs the action of your soul and needs the action that comes out of the peace that you gain. And that is the theme today. So I dedicate this session to those 4 individuals, and I remind you all that no, in fact, this is not a fact of life, and there is nobody in this room, I do not believe, with few exceptions, who grew up with armed guards at their school because of the fear of a shooting. There are teachers in this room, there are students in this room. We know what it was to go to school and feel safe, and we need and our children deserve that we create that world for them again. May we say amen. Okay, so first slide. Oh boy, am I going to rush through this. This is the arc of the Jewish service, of all services, even the service on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. There is an essential foundational structure, as there is, in fact, for you. I am certain. I don't know how it looks, but I'm sure you have one. I'm getting a sense of how every service ends, and holy announcement seems to be really important. But this is what we do. So we first spend some time warming up our prayer muscles in what we call a welcome period. And I've got the prayers that we typically, among those things, sing at that time. And you'll see that there are actions associated with each stage here, right? That the first is welcoming, where we look around and we recognize each other as a community. We recognize that God has 70 faces, and if you look around right now, you will see some of those 70 faces. Take a moment. Yeah. And then we call the community to prayer, and in Jewish tradition we do something that is absolutely extraordinary, never fails to blow me away, and that is that we basically say, blessed is the Holy One. We bless God, which is an extraordinary idea, that human beings have a role in blessing God, or that God would need our blessings. And I want you just to tuck that in your pocket and think about it, and think about the implications of what it means to say that God needs your blessing. And then we do some listening. We listen to God. We read from particular sections of the Torah you know well. You shall love God with all your heart, with all your might, with all your oomph, with all your breath, with everything you've got, right? We chant the Shema. That's the Shema. Listen, Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. So you have to take some time to listen to God and to listen to God's word in order to then have the moment when you are ready to speak to God. And speaking to God is actually the high point of the service. Many people who come to a Jewish service think, oh, the high point is when they carry the Torah around, there's dancing, there's singing, that's exciting, right? Actually, the high point of the service is the Amidah, because this is the moment where you have your time alone with your Maker. And then we move to a section we call learning and studying. That's the time when the rabbi gives a sermon often, or there's reading from Torah, or there's discussion, or there's interaction depending on the kind of synagogue you're in. But at this point, presumably, you have gone through a process in which you've warmed up your prayer muscles. You've welcomed each other to the moment. You've prayed to have God feel as blessed as God can be in God's gifts to you. You acknowledge those gifts. You listen to God's word. You've spoken to God and unburdened your heart, and then you learn. You learn something new. This is going to be key, because before you get to the next stage, you have to have gone through the learning stage. Because then a crucial prayer occurs. And we're going to be focusing, later when we sing, we're going to be singing four different variants of this next prayer, the Aleinu. And I have to tell you, Aleinu is critical, because Aleinu is the mandate. It is the call. It happens in every service. It says, literally, al, upon, Leinu, us. It is upon us. It is our job to take what we've learned, to take what we've experienced, to take what we now know out into the world. And it comes at the close of the service. It's almost the last thing, because it is a culminating moment. You have not been there just for yourself. You have been there to receive a mandate, to learn something, and to move out into the world with what you've learned. And then, of course, we never close a service without remembering those who taught us well. Whose ethics do we carry out into the world? Who have we lost who lives in our bodies, in our souls, and who continues to teach us how to be in the world? Whose memories are we living with every single day we live? Because they changed us, because they made us who we are, right? So we remember. Then we go out into the world recalling our teachers, our ancestors, our friends, our lovers, our spouses, our children, all those who have taught us how to live our lives, with a lesson on how to engage with the life we are in. So, two things very important for Jewish prayer. The first is the constant problem of keva and kavanah. And guess what? I bet everybody in this room has this problem too. So keva means the order of things. What is the order of things? When you don't know what the rabbis were intending or what a service means, you come in and it kind of feels like one darn thing after another. You don't know why are you standing, why are you sitting, why are you doing this, why are you doing that? And I'm guessing that people who are not particularly well-versed are also kind of going, I don't really know why this prayer follows that, in all synagogues, in all churches, in all settings, because rarely does anybody sit down and tell you why. Right? There is an art to your service, but have you had a lot of time to study the genius behind it? Probably not. So keva, the order, and then kavanah, the intention, the idea that you come to a service in order to feel again what that service means, what the words mean. How many of you have gone through the words and kind of done it on pilot flame? Yeah, right? It happens to every one of us, and the rabbis are constantly working on how do we solve this problem, that when we stand before these words that we've said, our Father who art in heaven, right? It becomes a kind of almost, it's so rote, it turns into a kind of tape that just runs again and again.
And this is the kind of thing that as a rabbi, I'll tell you, I'm working with even the tiny little community of friends that I deal with now. I ask them, what does it take for you to be able to say this prayer as if you were saying it for the very first time? How do you do that? How do you feel the transformative experience of the words as if it were the first time? So that problem is a constant issue in every single religious setting, I believe. The minyan is the other piece that Jews worry about, and that is, no, we're a communal people. You know, there are some prayers you got to have 10 people there to say them, right? And there's a reason for that, because you need to see the faces of God around you. You need to be supported. You need to hear the voice of a friend or a neighbor or just somebody you know because you recognize them along with you. You need not to be alone in your prayer. Now, that doesn't mean that both Christianity and Judaism doesn't have space for prayer that is solo, but the minyan is really important to the service. So, I want to speak to you about two prayers, the Amidah and the Aleinu. I'm going to rush through the Amidah super fast. Its basic structure you can see right here: blessings of praise, blessings of petition, and blessings of gratitude. Now, on the face of it, that doesn't look like, why is Rabbi Barbara bothering us with this? Well, the daily Amidah, which is different from what we say on Shabbat, because on Shabbat we're supposed to be like all about gratitude, and so those middle prayers get substituted with just a prayer of thanks for Shabbat. But the daily Amidah is what I want to point you to, because many aspects of this prayer are absolutely designed to make you think about the world you live in. I am asking you, Holy One of Blessing, for enough on my bank account to be able to feed my children. Parnasa, we say, right? That particular piece, is right there in blessing number 9. I am asking you, Holy One of Blessing, for the knowledge to deal with the world I have. The da'at, the ability to take in, and God knows all of us are now living in a world in which the news cycle and the amount of information that we are asked to take in every day is absolutely overwhelming. I don't know about you, but I'm praying for da'at every day. Like, how do I even contend with this also without being triggered all the time by the scariness of what's out there? So you see that all of these have like very interesting real-world applications. And I want to speak to two of these very briefly. One being, our judges, may our judges, I'm going to read this one, absorb the wisdom of the past. Then, when our judges understand the wisdom that has brought them to the space of, one would hope, grand humility about the decisions they make, then we will know that you will be ruling us with loving kindness. That's the Hebrew word for grace there, chesed. Chesed and compassion, right? Berachamim, this is a word we've talked about before, the word that comes from the word for womb, right? So a kind of maternal compassion, right? That's what compassion comes from in the ancient world. With justice and law, right? These are really important words, people. We live in a world where if you happen to be white, male, and wealthy, you can get away with an awful lot. Can't you? You can keep running the system until the system is exhausted and doesn't have to deal with you at all anymore. Right? You can run it to the ground. But God help you, and I mean this seriously, if you are a person of color dealing with the same infractions. So you need to think about how that prayer is asking for a real change in the way that the world works. I bring this one up because it never ceases to amaze me that in the Amidah we ask, who are the people who are going to be leading us? The righteous, the pious, the elders, the sages. The house of Israel rests upon the Gerim Tzadikim. These are human beings who were not born into Judaism, but who made the decision to become members of the tribe. This prayer is actually saying that those Jews who were, quote unquote, born into it, like me, nice Ashkenazi girl, right? That we hang on the coattails of those who made the decision to be part of us, right? It's not only our sages and our elders, but you want to look for the righteous? Gerim tzadikim literally means the foreigners, who have come. A ger is a foreigner, but tzadikim, righteous. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because, by God, this country is hanging on the coattails of people who have come to this country to make their lives here. I will stop for a brief moment because I know we have, but this deserves its time. On Thursday, my husband and I went to get our COVID shots. He also got the flu shot. He's not allergic to it like me. From our pharmacist, whose name is Pooja. She works at Walgreens. Pooja has more than once really done life-saving acts with me, particularly because I'm allergic to a lot of different drugs. And she's called me and said, no, what your doctor prescribed you cannot take, right? And during the time I spoke to her, I discovered that this woman who comes from India, she says, this land, she says to me, this is a land of opportunity. It's everywhere. It's amazing. And 2 minutes before we walked in the door, somebody was screaming their bloody head off at the entire staff because of the COVID shot. Right? They get that. They get people who come in with COVID joking about spreading it to them. Right? So Pooja has come to this country to make a world for herself, and she has been nothing but the greatest help to me and my husband in every healthcare crisis we've had, and we've had a lot recently. I think about this prayer, and I think, who is it speaking to? We need to think about that. Who is it speaking to? Okay, the Aleinu, which is the piece that we're going to be singing. Right? Aleinu is recited with all the congregants standing. Why? The first letter of the Aleinu is an ayin. The last letter of the prayer is a dalet. The last phrase is about God's oneness, echad, right? Just like the Shema, listen, O Israel, Lord our God, the Lord is one, echad, ends with that d sound. If you put these two letters together, you get the word witness. So you stand in order to witness, if of course you are able. And if you are not able to stand physically, you stand with your spirit, right? Because you can do those things. You can do those things, and you can testify. It is upon us. And just any time from this point on, Debbie, the children can come in. So we're going to do a little bit of singing. And we're going to sing 4 different things. 3 of them will be versions of Aleinu, and the last one will be a call-response prayer that I haven't spoken about at all, but which I think would make sense to end with, to send you out with. Now, this first prayer, Odiavo Shalom Aleinu, is people have riffed on the Aleinu prayer, which if I sang it for you would take a long, long time in Hebrew. So I'm not going to do that. It would take a long, long time, and it would be in Hebrew, and yeah, you might be knocking off. So Odiavo Shalom Aleinu is what we call a chant that was written in inspiration here. And it means peace will come upon us yet. And the importance of this idea, Odiavo Shalom Aleinu, is that you don't just say peace will come upon us, but you actually also wish it. Salam, you know what salam means? Shalom. Right? It's the same thing. And shalom means not only peace, but it means wholeness and completeness. It means the sense of being healed and whole in yourself. Remind me to talk to you about that some other time. You can ask me why my Hebrew name is Shulamit, which comes from this source. So salam, peace upon us, v'al kol ha'olam, and upon everybody, upon the whole world. You are not just asking that peace be upon you. In this version of the Aleinu, you are asking yourself to spread the message that peace must be on everyone else. So there are 2 parts. There are often 2 parts to chants. There's a low part usually, and then there's a high part. Yes, that's how it works. So I am going to first give you an idea of how that low part works.
just by singing the very famous, well-known Jewish words. Right, that was simple. Let's just try that part. Now, you're Americans, and mostly, you know, we got white people in here, so we'll do it your way. Lie, 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 lie. La 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 la. Now, if you want to try the Jewish die 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 die, you want to try it? Okay. Ya da da la la da da da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da da da. And now, isn't he good? And now what we're going to do is try the words. So I'll sing the words first, and then you'll sing the words. Then we'll move to the second part. We'll sing the second part, and then we're going to try going the first part and the second part seamlessly and with such ease that, you know, everyone will be perfectly in tune and in peace. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Ve'al kulam. I'll do that one more time. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Join in when you're ready. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Ve'al kulam. Let's try it together now. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Ve'al kulam. Wasn't that easy? Okay, so now we're going to try the second part. Yadai, yadai, da 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 da, yadai, da da, yadai, yadai, da 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 da, yadai, da da. Bit of a moment there, didn't I? Okay, let's try that second part together with the die-die-dies. Die-die, yeah, die-die-die-die-die-die-die, yeah, die-die-die, yeah, die, yeah, die-die-die-die-die-die-die, yeah, die-die-die. Then we'd go back to this. Da, 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 da. You see how that works? So now we'll try it with words. Salam aleinu v'al kol ha'olam. Shalom, salam, salam aleinu v'al kol ha'olam. Shalom, salam. Want to try it with me? Salam aleinu v'al kol ha'olam. Shalom, salam, salam aleinu v'al kol ha'olam. Shalom, salam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu v'al kulam. Avalo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu v'al kulam. Salam aleinu v'al kol ha'olam. Salam, shalom, salam. Salam aleinu v'al kol ha'olam. Shalom, salam. Okay, now I've been messing up a lot because of probably the COVID shot still making me a little bleary, but I'd like to hear a little more from you. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Beautiful. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu via kulam. Let's do that again. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Wonderful. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu via kulam. Salam. Sing it out. Aleinu via kulam. Shalom. Salam. Salam. Aleinu via kulam. Shalom. Salam. Oh, Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Show the kids. Oh, Yavo Shalom. Oh, Yavo Shalom Aleinu via kulam. All right. So the next piece actually is one I used to sing with the children all the time. This version was written by Shendel Khan, who is a colleague of mine. And the kids can also come into the front if they want to. Like, there's nothing that prevents them from moving over here if they want. You know, come and join your elders, because you will end up having to show them how it's done. I'm not joking. Repeatedly, I would ask the kids, how did the adults do? And repeatedly, the kids would point out that the adults really didn't do it very well. And they would make the adults do it again. So be forewarned, this could happen to you right now. Now, in the Aleinu prayer, it's upon us prayer. It's upon us to make peace. It's upon us to go into the world. It's upon us to get out into the spaces, right? There is a little place. Jews aren't much into bowing, but there are two places in the service where we do that. We make a little bow. We bend and bow to you. You're going to see me do that. So that part, I'm going to sing this actually in English all the way through, rather than doing the die piece, because I think it will give you a good idea of how it sounds. And then we're going to try together. And I want you to kind of feel this. You know, I think given that I sing a baritone, maybe. All right, take a deep breath. May we feel your holy power. May we feel your holy strength. May we feel your holy presence surround us in this holy place. May we feel the earth beneath our feet as we bend and bow to you. May our bodies rise and greet you as we feel your presence flowing through. It's upon us to feel your holy ground. It's upon us to hear your holy sound. It's upon us to feel your love inside. It's upon us to face you and not hide. It's upon us to think, to act, to do. It's upon us to do what's right and true. It's upon us to reach up to the sky. It's upon us to take our wings and fly. May we feel your holy power. May we feel your holy strength. May we feel your holy presence surround us in this holy place. Question, kids, what was the fun part? Yes, sir. What was it?
It's a bonner.
Yes! Young man, what is your name? Lincoln. Lincoln, you have just understood the point of this prayer. Lincoln, how much courage do you have? All right. Lincoln is going to come up here with me. All right, Lincoln. Here are the words right here. See those words? Can you read them? Are you tall enough to get those?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody who wants to join Lincoln? Come on up.
Okay.
Why not? Let's do this right. Let's just do this right. Okay. Can you see all those words right there?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to be singing this together. Now, the first part is kind of slow and soft. If that's the kind of thing where you just want to listen and sort of bring it in, that's fine. But if you want to try singing it with me, that
Or
is fine
maybe
too.
like one of us do part one, the other one does part two.
I'll say you do whatever you want. How about that? Because I believe in giving you, empowerment. So you sing whatever you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so. May we feel your holy power. May we feel your holy strength. May we feel your holy presence. Surround us in this holy place. May we feel the earth beneath our feet as we bend and bow to you. May our bodies rise and greet you as we feel your presence flowing through. You ready for this? It's upon us, it's upon us to feel your holy ground. Give it up, nice and loud. To feel your holy sound. It's upon us, it's upon us to feel your holy ground. It's upon us to face you and not hide. It's upon us to think, to act, to do. It's upon us to do what's right and true. It's upon us to reach up to the sky. It's upon us to take our wings and fly. I'm just curious about what would happen if all the kids came up.